fishing competition way too many times. So today I set out to defeat the best fisherman I know, this guy known as Aiden. And besides having potentially the nastiest grimace on the earth, he also possesses an uncanny ability to hook big fish. But today it was going to come down to my level to compete in a little minute to win at Fisheroo, where I would attempt once and for all to beat his nasty ability. Once we both got to the pond, a very small pond with about 10 fish, two appropriately named Gerald and Bob, he started things off hot by losing his bait on the first cast and taking over 30 minutes to catch one fish. So I stepped up to my rod with a newfound enthusiasm to win, casting out my rod, and I caught one within the literal first 10 seconds. You're looking at Ernest Hemingway 2.0. Last evening on the way home from the ice cream place, my family encountered a very unusual experience. We noticed a suspiciously high amount of water in our side ditch. It was so suspiciously high, we deduced it was a sprinkler leakage somewhere. So I immediately got on my Segway and went to investigate to find out that it was coming from this very sprinkler head that was in my neighbor's front yard. And then I went back to see how far it went into our yard to find out that it went back to our ditch, to the back of our backyard. And this is our house, this is the water. So we got really far down the road. And as you can see in this time lapse, it was filling up really quickly. So I went over and rung our neighbor and asked them to call the city plumbing, and they got them right out here to fix the problem. Yesterday, I decided to plan to go on a Segway ride, and I was so excited to do so that I completely neglected to put my shoes on. So I headed over to the shoe rack and grabbed my tennis shoes, and I know it's unusual, but I use a shoehorn. So I got the shoehorn and slipped it in my foot to realize it was intense pain. But then I said, where is the problem coming from? Turns out I was actually using it backwards, so whenever I tried to slip my foot in, it was literally burrowing into that really hard steel. So I flipped it around and made sure not to make that mistake again, then slipped it into ultimate satisfaction. And I was convinced after shoe 2 that that was the only problem. As you can tell, I was very satisfied with myself. So I headed out, and the problem was solved. Today I set out to debunk the myth that supposedly practice makes perfect. Because for years now, coaches have told me that if I practice a ton and vigorously put the basketball in the hoop, I'll become perfect. But sometimes it's just better to trust the scientific method more than a rec basketball coach. So I decided to take 7 shots that simulate what practice would be. Then I took a 7th shot called
after the big no,
that in theory I should always make, because I've been putting balls in the hoop just as my coaches have said. And here was my result. And I actually did make it, but that test is so finicky and that myth is so false, because the second time I tried it, I completely missed. So I'm sorry, rec basketball coaches, but that myth is busted.